Hello everyone and welcome back to WolfQuest The Lost Tales, and we are here with Scorpio, who has currently set out to try and dominate all the wolves on Amethyst Mountain, and hopefully he'll be able to do so. Uh-oh, is it gonna be laggy? No, I think we're good. I don't know why it'd be lagging, but hopefully it's not too slow today. But yeah, so we got started with that last one, made good headway. We actually managed to dominate all three of the wolves on the mountain, and then we did find one of the wolves here as well, and managed to successfully dominate her. So we just have two more wolves here, and then we have to take on the Druid pack. Now, keep in mind, this is not necessarily the most realistic. Okay, so we're going to leave her alone because this is one we already dealt with. But this is not necessarily the most realistic of our challenges. In the real world, fighting is really not... It's not recreational for wolves. It's not a test of strength. And in a recent blog post, the WolfQuest team actually talked about it when they showed some of how the new fighting mechanics are going to work. But in the real world, fighting for wolves is extremely dangerous because even if you win the fight, there's still the chance of being injured or possibly even killed should you end up even if you don't lose, even if you win the fight, if you were to get bitten, if you were to get somehow injured, that injury could impact your survival. So fighting is done as a matter of necessity. Oh, right. So we're just gonna run in and we're gonna leave. But yeah, so fighting would be a matter of necessity only, and not really a test of strength like we have it here. So from time to time in the series, we do end up being a little bit unrealistic. Sometimes we anthropomorphize our wolves just a little bit, but I do try and call it out when I see it happening so that we can be clear on that. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to the new fighting mechanics, and that's part of the reason why I'm enjoying this particular challenge too, is because it's kind of one of the last hurrahs of this, I think. I mean, this old system will always be nostalgic. The new system is going to be much more interactive, it's going to be much better, and I'm really looking forward to getting to try it out, but this old system has been here since the beginning, so there will always be an element... Oh, okay, we have a different wolf here. There will always be an element of, there will always be an element, there will always be an element of, it kind of brings me back to the early days of WolfQuest, and it's been such a part of the game for a long time that it'll always be a little bit special in its own way. Now, we're gonna go ahead and say I want to be boss. Okay, so this looks like the male leader here, probably, because he's definitely the strongest, he's definitely been the most persistent thus far, and so, okay, he didn't do that much damage that time. He's doing a little bit. Yeah, we should be able to take him down. We're doing a lot of damage while he does not have much health. My goodness. Okay, we'll go ahead and chase him off. So that was the male leader here. We should be good with this place now, because the only other wolf who will have to dominate here is the, probably what I would speculate would be kind of a grown pup. So not quite confident enough to stand up. So we shouldn't have any problems here, and then we'll have to try and start trying to dominate the Druids and see if we can even best them. So assuming we can finish this territory today and find the wolves we need to find, then we'll actually be, we'll have secured a neutral outcome. So again, the way this is going to work is that even if we don't manage to dominate the Druids, if we can dominate all the other wolves and prove that we're stronger than them, then yes, we will still have a neutral outcome and we won't suffer a penalty from it. But in order to get any sort of a bonus, then we actually have to manage to even best the Druids in combat here. Now, we've talked a little bit about the way, we talked a little bit about how we don't really know how these, oh good, here we go. So we've talked a little bit about how we don't really know how the perks and the, how the benefits and the consequences that we gain from these will actually work. And with that in mind, I can't give a lot of insight on it yet because we don't know how the WolfQuest 3 gameplay is going to work, but what I can say is that as far as I'm understanding it currently, we'll see how this ends up playing out in actuality, but it's going to be a matter of small... it'll be a matter of small ways, but what it'll probably do is it'll impact probably a lot of what it will impact is wolf deaths and pup deaths. Now, we don't know how the death system will work. Oh boy, there's a lot going on here. But I don't know how that system will work. And I don't know, like, if we'll be able to respawn, if it'll be like in this game currently where you'd have to actually reload, or how that'll work. But, oh, you ate that whole carcass? No. Okay, oh, right, we actually have to, okay, here we go. So, oh, there we go, it was 3. Because here it's not necessarily always 3, it's actually a random number, so you could chase them on the first time, or I've seen it take more than 6. So, I'm going to pause my talking about that for a moment just to kind of address what's happening here. So we managed to dominate all the wolves here in the Slough territory. Now, the Slough territory is actually significant because there are distant ancestors. Now, that was originally where Taro was from, and if you look at the coloration specifically of the dominant male and then of that subordinate male, that's very much how Taro looked. He actually had the same coat as the subordinate male, and so that's the pack he was originally from. Now, we're far enough removed from that pack that I'm not overly concerned about it. I mean, we're, what, 4 or 5 generations down the line? I think Scorpio is 4th generation, and so I'm not concerned about that in terms of, if you think about how many generations would have passed, the connection there is so far that we're not overly concerned about that. It's a very, very distant ancestry, and if you go back far enough, everyone is related, even in the real world, but it's a distant relation, but it's still kind of cool to see that you can recognize kind of those coat colors from that. But that's just kind of an interesting thing that I wanted to point out there, is that is originally where our founding pack male, or the founding male leader of the pack was from that, and then our founding female was actually, the story we had from her is that she was a collared wolf who was actually released into the park. Now, that's not necessarily specific to, real life. I don't think there's any ongoing wolf reintroductions. Those are many years ago. But that's kind of the lore we have for Katari, is that she was an additional collared wolf who was released into the park, probably just to introduce new bloodlines into the parks, because when you have an isolated population, the danger of that is that you do have only certain specific bloodlines. We actually need to go hunt first. What am I doing? The danger of having a small population, though, as we've often seen in niche, is that you don't end up with a lot of diverse bloodlines and you have a higher chance of inbreeding. Now, when the wolves were originally released into Yellowstone, they actually took a bunch of wolves from different packs, and one of the main reasons for that was to make sure there wasn't going to be problems with inbreeding. Now, the reason scientifically that inbreeding is bad is that it lowers the genetic diversity, because obviously if you have two animals of a common bloodline, then they're going to share common genetics, and the lower that genetic diversity gets, the worse it can be, and there can be a lot of problems related to inbreeding because of that. Now, that's kind of the simplified version of it. And, of course, niche represents that with the immunity gene system. If you guys haven't seen any of our niche playthroughs, I would definitely recommend you check it out, because they do a really good job of giving a simplified view of genetics. Wait a sec. Oh, that's a cougar. Oh, my goodness. I didn't realize there was a cougar right there. Okay, we're going to ignore that cougar because we don't have time for this, and Scorpio is not fast enough to chase down a cougar. But yeah, so niche gives a really good simplified view of genetics, and if you want to learn more about that, then niche is definitely a good game to give you kind of a perspective on that. But that's the reason, inbreeding is the reason why there were so many wolves originally released into the park, and why they made sure they were from different packs, because you don't want a bunch of wolves that are all going to be related that are then going to have genetic problems because there's such a select few bloodlines to actually choose from. Now, the number of wolves they released in the park are probably diverse enough that I don't think they probably have to release more at this point. I think I believe in past years there's been between 70 and 100 wolves in the park, give or take a little bit, in the past several years. And so that's quite a number of them, and I don't think with a population of that size you would see too many issues with genetic diversity, especially since they were already so diverse to begin with. But that probably would be a major reason if we ever did see more releases into Yellowstone. Now, at this point in time, I don't think that's something that's going to need to happen, which is probably a good thing, because it means the population is stable, and it seems like the Yellowstone wolves are doing fairly well from everything that we've seen. They seem to be managing just fine, and with that in mind, I don't think in the real world we would have to see any new releases at this point. It's been several decades since they were originally released, and so far that seems to be holding steady. But for the sake of our canon, we are saying that Katari was an additional later release into the park, and a collared wolf, and therefore she actually didn't hail from Yellowstone in our canon here. So again, doesn't really reflect reality, but that's just kind of the story we're going with. And then of course the first Yellowstone pack to have ancestry into our line would be the Slough pack then, because that's where Taro was originally from. Now, with that said, what was I discussing beforehand? I was talking about wolves, and I was talking about how fighting is a very serious thing for them. And we discussed that a little bit. But we also discussed realism. I'm trying to talk through my thought process here, so pardon me. I don't entirely remember what we were discussing when that bear attack interrupted us. But it was something along those lines. But yeah, so fighting for wolves is a very serious thing. And it's not something that's done lightly, and it's not something that's done lightly for any animal. And so with that in mind, we don't actually, when we're doing something like this, we're not really replicating reality that well. Now, sometimes for the sake of the storyline, we will do that, but I do try to call it out when I see it. What I was talking about, though, I remember now, is actually the perks and the consequences that we could be gathering from these. Now, you'll have noticed that there are a certain number, I guess you'd call them categories of different things. So like I've said, there might be a hunting-based perk, or there might be a puppy-based perk, or something like that. And those categories, the way I'm thinking of it right now, of course, this is all subject to change. Don't take this as, oh, Jay said this is exactly how it's going to be. No, I'm not saying this is for sure how it's going to be. This is just if I had to speculate now, the way I think we might do it. We'll know more once WolfQuest 3 actually releases. But what it'll probably have to do with is either it will impact the circumstances with which we can deal with deaths or tricky situations. So, for example, those categories all kind of add up. Okay, here we go with our first Druid battle, too. So, we have the Druid female. We're at full health. She, I think, is the weaker of the two. And she does a lot of damage. Oh my goodness, okay. So, I think we're alright. Oh man, we might not actually be able to do this. I really don't want to die. We don't have any guidelines for Scorpio in terms of dying or not. But generally not dying is better. Okay. So, barely. Let's chase her off. I'm gonna venture that's about 20% health. If I had to guess, we're probably somewhere around there. So we chased off the Druid female. That is a feat I don't know that any of our wolves really have done. I think Apollo might have done that. But I'm not positive. So 29! So we actually had more health than I thought we did. Okay, oh, we can actually find a mate now. So we might do that in the next episode. I'm not entirely sure what we'll do. If we finish this early, I wasn't counting on finishing early, but we might actually finish early, so if we end up ending this challenge early, what do you guys want to see us do? What should we do in the meantime? Just let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, so as I was saying is, you've seen we've had certain categories, and so, like we have a hunting category, or we have a stranger wolf territory, or whatnot. Well, what this will do is, because we kind of have a loose system for determining whether or not a wolf should actually die in terms of main wolf deaths, pup deaths. There was a discussion about whether or not, not a discussion and a poll recently, not recently, 7 months ago actually. It feels recent still, but there was a discussion about what should become of mates in WolfQuest 3, and so if the mate ends up being able to die, then all of this will kind of go into that, because right now we have a fairly loose system, except the pup death system is a little bit more strict. where generally each wolf will have an ability to revive pups or to rescue pups or not. It's not reviving. It's saying they were able to prevent it from happening. We generally have had a pretty strict system for that, but it's a lot looser with our wolf deaths, and that'll probably be the case with the mate too, if that ends up being a thing. Okay, oh, this is a dispersal female. Well, hello. I didn't actually, I actually kind of like her. I wasn't counting on taking a mate this early, but you know what? I think we will. Yeah, I like her. I really like the way she looks, and we unfortunately don't have much to go off except for looks at this point in time, but we will be able to have personality in WolfQuest 3. We'll start to see the personalities, and we'll get to have finally more than just a looks-based courtship ritual here, which will be really nice to see. But I don't actually know what I'm going to name her. Let's go ahead and we'll hit let's start a pack. I'm trying to think what would be a good name for her. I'm not actually sure off the top of my head here. I didn't plan on him having a mate so soon. I don't have anything picked out. Let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, Scorpio himself is named after a constellation. You know, give me a moment. I'm gonna go look this up. Okay, so I think we're actually gonna call her Pegasi, which is another constellation. It's actually a constellation of a Pegasus, and so I feel like it's fitting for them to both have constellation names here. So Pegasi will be following us here, in our quest to dominate. I don't know how she, I don't know how she'll feel about this. I don't know what she'll think or not, but Scorpio is very, very determined to succeed in his quest, and so she'll be along for the ride. Hopefully she's okay with that. Hey, no, you don't get to eat our carcass, Fox. I'm sorry, but this is ours. Now, at this point in time, we don't really have the time in the side story to be able to bring them to Slough Creek, so I think we'll keep them here on the mountain, but if you have something you'd like to see them accomplish, just kind of for fun, at the end of this, if we do end up completing our quest early, then definitely we can go ahead and try and do that, but for now, let's just see if we can make any further progress here. But what I was saying before that is that we have... Oh, I'm following Pegasi's trail, aren't I? What I was saying before that is that we kind of have certain categories, and those categories will impact what ends up happening in the case that something bad happens. So if we have a lot of successful, oh, hey, we ran into this from the wrong side by accident. Okay, oh, okay. So this guy's kind of interesting. This guy also plays an important role in the storyline thus far. This is actually Scorpio's grandfather, because Scorpio's mother was from the Druid pack. Now, this guy's not too happy with us. He is a very fierce wolf, and so we're still gonna try and prove our strength over him here. But if you guys want to hear the full story, make sure you go back and watch the rest of the WolfQuest Legacy, because it's quite the story, and you guys won't get the full details of it if you haven't seen that. Dude, that's not wise. Yeah, I was a little worried for a second that Scorpio was actually really gonna hurt him, but he's okay. He's just very stubborn, so I didn't expect him to stand his ground for that long. He's very... I think it seems that the sort of rivalry, the sort of competition between the packs still persists. Wow. I wasn't expecting that to go on for quite so long. But yeah, so what I was saying, as we continue on for just a little bit here, is that, what it'll probably end up doing is, so we'll kind of, in each category, we'll kind of combine in a sort of point system, I guess. So every time we get a negative outcome, it subtracts a point. Every time we get a positive outcome, it adds a point. Neutral outcome doesn't do anything. And we'll kind of look at that. So, like, let's say we have 3 wolves win a hunting challenge, 1 loses, 1 is neutral. Then that would mean we'd have basically a +2 perk, I guess you could say, for anything bad that happens when we're hunting. And so if we have a wolf die, and it was in a hunting accident, then what we can do is we can kind of look at that and say, well, we have this perk, we have this amount. Oh, you're back for more? I feel like we probably have to I feel like we probably have to fight him again, because the Druids are a particularly notably fierce pack, and so I feel like they wouldn't just let us go that easily. So I think we're gonna try and do this again here. So what we'll do then is, like, let's say a wolf dies in a hunting accident. What we'll be able to do is we'll be able to say, well, we have a +2 bonus here, and so we can factor that in when we're talking about whether or not we should be able to continue them on, or whether that death should be permanent. That's something we'll be able to take into account, and that'll give us a little bit of it. Oh, I didn't mean to run like that. I clicked the wrong button. This is what I get for trying to talk and do the social arena at the same time. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Scorpio is just like, okay, you're not worth my time anymore, I'm leaving. But yeah, so that's kind of how it'll work, is whenever we have something that happens, we'll be able to take into account that, either the bonus or the penalty for that, and we'll kind of take that into account as we're going to be looking at dangerous situations there. That's what I've been trying to say. Hopefully that was clear. I know I kept getting interrupted there, so hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But anyway, it looks like it's about time to wrap up the episode, so we're actually going to go ahead and do that here for today. So we have 1 Druid wolf left to take down, and that would be the dominant male. So we're going to go ahead and do that, but for now we're actually going to go ahead and end up this episode here for today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to drop some ideas for what we could do in the time after that we complete the challenge, assuming we manage to do that in the next episode here, if you guys have them, because we might have some time to kill here. But yeah, so I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, this is Jay, over and out.